Hi gang. This is an important Train Harder video. There's no physical activity in this one. There's no shenanigans or fancy editing. It's just come to my attention that some people want to use Train Harder for, I guess, purposes other than what it was intended. I hadn't been to a game since I started this, and I went to Red Dawn this weekend, and people on both teams were running around yelling Train Harder back in my face, and that was great for both teams, red and blue. And it just sort of gave me a reality check. I was thinking about making t-shirts for Train Harder and stuff, but then I realized that I didn't start these videos with any intention of making any money. I'm trying to change the sport. I'm trying to motivate people to work out, to stay healthy, to better their game through this, and it's working. And it's working better than I could have expected, and it's catching on. And I realized that I really do not want anyone using that for any sort of economic gain. So I'm not going to have t-shirts, and I don't want anyone to be using it for purposes other than what it was intended, which is just to motivate people across the board, from the little guys, the 12-year-olds on their budget with stingrays and pump actions who can barely afford to play games, to business executives who are starting to realize the benefits of working out. They can already afford to play the game, but now they can use the game as motivation, and it doesn't just better your paintball game, it betters your life. So yeah, this isn't about red team or blue team. I know those videos say red or dead, but that's because I'm using West Point as a vehicle to sort of get this message out there, not because I think Train Harder should be a red mentality. I think blue team, you should train just as hard as red. I just rag on you guys to try and motivate you, but I hope you're out there training as hard as we are. I know Toochman is, in his own little way. So I'm not selling t-shirts, and I want to nip this thing in the bud before it gets out of hand. I don't want Train Harder to be owned by me. I don't want it to be owned by a team. I don't want it to be owned by an alliance or a color. That's not what this is about. If you think that's what this is about, then you missed the point. The point of this is to change paintball, to change people's lifestyles, to use motivation instead of negative feedback, instead of diming each other out and yelling at each other and calling each other out on the forums. Paintball is played on the field, and that's where it should stay, and that's where I'm going to keep it. So that being said, I'm just going to ask that at West Point, if you want to support Train Harder, the idea, not me, it's not mine anymore, it's all of ours, and no one, if someone wants to copyright it and make money off of it and make armbands and t-shirts and toys and whatnot and TV commercials, that's their business. But the true Train Harder, that's inside you and inside me and inside everyone who's gotten on board with this, and you shouldn't have to pay money for that. So I refuse to be a part of any sort of sponsorships or anything that could potentially use Train Harder to take your hard-earned money. So at West Point, I thought about, red or blue, what happens if you put them together? You get purple, and I don't want to steal any of Barney's thunder. So if you want to support Train Harder at West Point, just take a cheap black t-shirt like this, and if you have scissors, you can use that, or you can use a knife, or a medium-sized knife, or you can break out the big guns. But all I'm asking is that at West Point, I don't care what your armband tape is, you just cut off a piece of this t-shirt, wrap it around your arm, your wrist, wherever, have somebody tie it off for you, and your support and my support of Train Harder will be black armbands at West Point. And that way you don't have to spend any money. If you don't have a cheap black shirt, someone you know has a cheap black t-shirt, you can use that. No one makes any profit, and we can still all show each other that we're out here to Train Harder. So I'm not going to dime anyone out. I'm not mad at anyone. But I did start this thing, and it's my baby, and it's all of our babies now. I mean, there's 4 or 5 people making Train Harder vids. So that's from me to you guys, and hopefully I'll see you at West Point with your black armbands on. Come up, say hi, and yeah, you know what to do. Train harder, baby. Train harder.